story begins in a modern apartment where a white-collar office worker, tired from all the work, cooks himself some pork ribs. But before he can start eating, he falls asleep. Sometime later, when he opens his eyes, he finds himself inside the body of a 5-year-old noble boy named Wendelin von Benno Baumeister. And he's attending the wedding ceremony of the eldest son of the family, Kurt. Unable to go back to his own world, he thinks to himself that he'd live a relaxing life here since he's a noble. But the next morning, he's devastated to learn that his family is poor and only owns some backwater territory which Kurt would inherit. And to his surprise, he's the 8th son, so he'll have to find some other way to survive. He starts ransacking his father's books to find something that will help him. But except some useless romance poems, he finds a crystal ball that is able to tell if a person has aptitude for magic. And to his surprise, he learns that he does possess such talent. While he's trying to find more clues on magic, his father sends him to collect firewood. But while looking around, he meets a blonde-haired magician, Alfred Reinford, who detects the boy's magic from far away. Thanks to a falling boulder, the two are attacked by a wild boar. When Wend tries to run away, Alfred makes him face the boar and demands that the boy circulate mana within himself. And in grave danger, he's able to cast his first spell to repel the boar. Alfred offers to teach him magic simply because he wants a disciple, and the boy accepts the offer. He asks him to keep this a secret because it can cause a succession crisis. Thus, the training starts. He makes extraordinary progress despite his father and brother laughing, thinking he has no magic. But Kurt grows suspicious every day. A few days later, Wend announces to his family that he wants to be an adventurer like his master once was, so he'll leave the family once he's 12. One day, abruptly, the master tells the boy that tomorrow will be the last lesson as he hides the dark energy exuding from his body. That day, a glaring topic comes up at the dinner table when Wen's father talks about a rumor of a whispering dead in the forest. The boy realizes that his master fits the characterization of one. He rushes to the forest and confronts him. The master admits that he died once, but resurrected as a whispering dead because he wanted to pass all his knowledge to someone, which he has superbly done. For his final lesson, he teaches his disciple holy magic to purify him and send him to the afterlife. A devastated Wend casts the spell and bids farewell to his master. 7 years pass, and the 12-year-old boy leaves his family to be an adventurer. Though to become one, he attends the Adventurers Academy, but thanks to his antisocial upbringing, he's unable to talk to anyone. Meanwhile, the class, aware of his renowned magic skill, thinks that he'll only talk to someone who manages to impress him, and the ones who are accepted will join his party. Most of the students give up only after a few days. But one group stays firm. The members include a swordsman, Erwin, a martial artist, Luis, and a spearman, Lena. In order to impress him, the three head deep into the woods to hunt monsters. But they are ambushed by a pack of wolves, and once overwhelmed, the one who saves them is Wend. Though due to a misunderstanding, the trio thinks that he sees them as a burden, despite him wanting to be friends. The same day, the class gets invited to a party by Duke Bleichroder, who's interested in Wend for his skills. On the day of the party, the Duke calls him inside the palace to talk. Though the magician also invites Erwin, Luis, and Lena to join him because they are his party. Hearing this leaves them flabbergasted. Inside, the Duke introduces them to his court wizard, Burkhardt, Alfred's master, who confirms his suspicion that Wend is Alfred's successor after noticing the bag he's carrying. He tells them the tale of his master. Hearing this makes the trio realize that Wend is just like them, and they accept him as a friend. He returns his master's possessions to the court, for which he receives 1,000 gold coins and his master's old estate. He's invited to his brother's marriage, so he heads to the capital, Stuttgart, with his party and Burkhardt on an airship. A totally safe means of transportation unless they are attacked by a dragon, and to their surprise, it just happens that they are attacked by an undead dragon. To protect the ship, Wen takes flight and casts holy magic on the dragon, slaying it, though he collects its bones as asked by Burkhardt. Once they reach the capital, he's taken directly to the royal palace, where His Majesty commends him for protecting the ship and blesses upon him the noble rank of baronet. After he shows them the bones of the dragon, the entourage of nobles starts arguing over the price to gain favor from the young baronet, though in the end he's paid 150,000 coins. Tired from all the arguing, he heads back to his party, though on his way, a strange admirer, Roderick, asks to be his retainer, but the boy ignores. The next day he manages to attend his brother Eric's wedding, and even pays for some of the gifts. At the end of the day, he prepares miso soup for his party and family to feast on, and a joyful day ends. The next day, he's invited by Cardinal Hohenheim, a noble who supported Wend a few days ago, and he manages to talk him into marrying his granddaughter, Elise. Once he's back home, he's stressed thinking about his marriage, but Eric reassures him that it's not out of the ordinary for a noble to marry a woman he has hardly ever talked to. Trying not to worry too much, he heads to the town in disguise, but he's surrounded by a flock of men who want to be his retainers. So to avoid that, he names Erwin his retainer. This motivates the party's girls to aim to be his concubine after he marries Elise. Meanwhile, Wend manages to sneak Elise out and talk to her. He learns that she's not against the marriage, and she also invites him on a date. At night, they two have a dinner date, but not much is discussed. He is suggested by the butler of Hohenheim Estate that it's better to buy Elise a ring to commemorate the first date. Thus, the pair head out for shopping. He buys her a normal-looking ring, but to his surprise, it cost him 300 coins. On the way back to the estate, he tells her how he's a coward and doesn't live up to his title Dragon Slayer. She comforts him and starts to develop feelings for him because of how he treats her like a normal girl. The next day, Wend and Burkhardt, along with an overly enthusiastic court magician, Armstrong, are ordered to go slay the ancient dragon Grigerland by the king, and the three heed to the orders. Since it's normal for a huge number of monsters to appear when a dragon is slain, the baronet's retainer Erwin hires adventurers to form an army and support the three mages, along with the healer mage Elise. The mages soon confront the dragon and easily manage to slay it and collect its remains. Although as expected, thousands of monsters start rampaging and the soldiers join the battle. Though the battle is a gruesome one, many get hurt, and the one who heals them is Elise. When she learns from the injured that he's fighting on the front lines, she does her best to support her fiancé. Soon an injured Wend returns back to the base victorious, though she passes out from the exhaustion, and he looks after her until she wakes up. The next day, Elise asks him if Louise and Lena are also his fiancés, which he completely denies, but is surprised to learn that polygamy is normal for a noble. The two use this opportunity to tell Wend that they want to be wives. Forced to give an answer, he nervously accepts their proposal, ending up with 3 fiancés. A few days later, he learns that he's expected to participate in a martial arts tournament where nobles test their sword skills, but magic is prohibited. The rest of the party members, along with the new addition Elise, also start training to participate in the tournament under different categories. Erwin is devastated to learn that the last 2 times champion, Commander Warren, is also participating. He starts contemplating whether he's even worthy of being a party member. His frustration grows so much so that he gets angry at Louise and Lena. Though when he sees Elise working hard to develop her physical strength just so that she doesn't end up being a hindrance to the party, he once again strengthens his resolve and begins training. After days of relentless training, the day of the tournament finally arrives. Wend ends up facing Warren in the first round and is defeated immediately. Louise loses in the semifinal, and Lena ends up being defeated by none other than Roderick in the finals. Though Erwin also makes it to the finals where he faces Warren, a person he admired his whole life. But thanks to his party support and an inspirational lunchbox made by Wend, he confidently faces him even though he's defeated. But thanks to the tournament, Warren decides to train Erwin until he's 15. Louise and Wend end up with Armstrong as their trainer. Thus everyone gains something from this ordeal. 3 years have passed. The party members are finally able to register themselves as adventurers and opt the name Dragon Busters. Soon enough, they get their first mission from the king, one where they'll have to explore the newly discovered ruins, but a number of veteran adventurers have already died trying. The Dragon Busters' start is also not an exceptional one, because they manage to get caught in a trap that sends them to the bottom of the ruins, so now they'll have to make it all the way to the top if they want to escape. But the ascend is not so easy, because they face numerous golem armies on their way up. Time continues to pass, and they have been facing nothing but golems for several days. During this time, outside, head auditor Ruckner has been spreading rumors about Wen's death. He even sends a letter to his brother Kurt suggesting that his children should inherit the dead baronet's estate. Meanwhile, the exhausted party finally manages to reach the last boss, a mithril dragon. With the rest evading the golems, Wen faces it alone, but due to exhaustion, it doesn't look like he can hold it for long. To help him, Elise casts the spell Miracle Light and kisses him. Thanks to this, he manages to defeat the behemoth. After recovering, they explore the ruins and retrieve several priceless airships and a shipyard. The Dragon Busters are given 10 million from the crown for the items they retrieved. Wend learns about the rumors surrounding his death and realizes that their success invites enemies. He decides to move their home back to Breichberg so that they can focus themselves on adventurers' jobs, not court conspiracies. He hires the capable, obviously not a fanboy Roderick to take care of his estate in the capital, though a pink-haired girl follows Wend. Before leaving, he throws a big party where a number of people who have helped him in the capital are invited. At the party, Roderick informs him that Ruckner is the one responsible for the conspiracy, but he assures him that he is already taking care of the fiend, making sure that he's summoned by the king for his actions. Suddenly, the party is disturbed when the pink-haired girl bursts through the doors and starts gulping down the food. Lord Marshal Edgar reveals the girl is his adoptive daughter, Wilma, who suffers from hero syndrome, a condition in which one has a vast appetite. Edgar offers her to Wend as a bodyguard or even a wife, which he accepts because there's no other way. One of the participants, Duke Bleichroder, gives the party their new monster hunting mission. A few days pass and Kurt finally receives the letter indicating Wend's death, but his happiness is short-lived when he sees the Dragon Buster outside. The party explains their mission to Kurt. That is a mission to purify the souls of an army of 2,000 strong who loom in these woods as zombies before they become sentient lich. Kurt continues arguing about his share from the armor recovered, which makes Wend realize the hatred his brother has for him because of his success. After ending the debate in Kurt's favor, they spend the night at his brother Herman's house. After talking to him and his wife, they realize how the villagers want Wend to replace his brother for the lordship, though he rejects the idea. The next day, they head to the woods and start purifying the trapped souls and recover the armor for their loved ones to bury. The villagers rejoice upon receiving the belongings of their long-lost family, and Elise holds a funeral for them. Though Kurt doesn't attend the funeral, which leads to the villagers getting more infuriated at their lord. And even though the mission is complete, the Duke asks for Wend to stay there, which makes him think that they have some other motive. Thanks to Burkhardt, Wend realizes that he's in the middle of a huge plot orchestrated by the royal court to replace him as the lord in place of his brother Kurt. Burkhardt explains that the king wants the use of the large undeveloped area here to obtain priceless resources, but the current lord Kurt is incapable to do so. So Wend, who can both develop the land and is financially strong, will replace him, and his brother will most likely be assassinated after the court drives him to madness and he attempts to retaliate. Wend finds this unacceptable thinking. What will happen to his sister-in-law Amelie and her 2 children? He tries to offer his brother a proposal that will save his life, but in his spite towards the 8th son, he rejects it. Forced into a corner, Wend has no option but to accept becoming a lord. Though he asks his party to help him because he doesn't want anyone to die and plays along with the court's pitiful ploy. Hence, the plan commences. He starts from shutting down the businesses of Kurt's allies and then bribing them into leaving him. He even buys a house in the capital for Amelie and her children and arranges so that after being removed, Kurt will join the church so the court won't be able to lay a hand on him. The plan succeeds, and with no allies left, Kurt finally loses his cool and heads to kill his brother. But before he leaves, one of Ruckner's men provide him a magical item called the Dragon's Flute. Kurt invites his brother and his party into an open field and reveals the flute to him. Burkhard explains that the flute is an ancient weapon of the highest caliber capable of summoning a horde of dragons. Wanting to exact his revenge on the land, his brother, and even his own family for betraying him, he blows the flute. But it soon comes apparent that the flute is actually the Flute of Malice, which channels all the malice of the land into Kurt, sacrificing him and turning him into a monstrosity. At first, he's frozen, thinking that he has to kill his brother. Wend comes to his senses and purifies the monster filled with malice. Though one of the fragments of Kurt's malice escapes and searches for the nobles who used him for their ploy and kills them. In a grim manner, Wend fulfills the court's quest. He is given the noble rank of Count and the right to bestow 2 titles, which he obtained for his 2 nephews. He's also given the undeveloped land to administer and make it flourish. Hence starts his tedious routine where he's forced by his party members and the nobles to restlessly work. Though he concludes his day eating the last dish he ate while living in Japan, pork ribs, as he continues enjoying his life in this world, even as the 8th son. The end.